Wendell's story begins in 1984. He wakes up smiling and later has breakfast with his pregnant wife Zandra. He has his first day of work at a factory and meets with the owners. They tell him he's being hired for a lower position than what was promised. He argues that he's overqualified for that position, but the bosses say that's just how it's going to be. Later, Wendell and Zandra are at a class together when she notices something is bugging him. He opens up about the new job. On the drive home, Zandra gives Wendell a quote to help through his problem. The quote is, "Conflict and change spark emotion and growth." She reminds Wendell that he has to be present for their child. On the next page, Wendell is in a meeting and learns that the factory is losing money. Wendell chimes in that they should innovate in technology and be more efficient in production. Close-minded higher-ups turn the idea down and tell Wendell to stay in his lane. After the meeting, Wendell gets a call and he starts running out of the factory. He arrives at the hospital where his wife gave birth and meets his child. He gives her an elephant plushie and says he may not always do things right, but that he'll always be there to fix it. 18 years later, Wendell and his wife disapprove of their daughter's choice of clothing. We learn things have been tense due to work taking up Wendell's time. The factory has Wendell be the one to notify workers when they've been laid off. He tells one worker named Ted that he's been laid off and shares the quote his wife had said. Ted berates him and storms off. We see there are more people waiting for bad news. Wendell returns home and Zandra asks if he brought the cake. He didn't, and they argue in the middle of the party. Their daughter intervenes and Wendell apologizes. He tries to make things better by giving his daughter her birthday gift. The gift he got his 18-year-old daughter is a Beanie Baby plush, which makes Wendell seem stuck in the past. The moment is too much for Wendell's wife, and she leaves the room crying. Ziza, their daughter, takes this as further proof of her parents getting a divorce and brings it up. Wendell doesn't reply, but his face says it all. After the party, Wendell tries to comfort his daughter, but she bluntly tells him that not everything can be fixed. Another 18 years later, Wendell wakes up alone. He heads to his new job at Best Buy, which is pretty depressing. As he goes about his duties, the worker he laid off 18 years ago recognizes him. They talk, and Ted mentions that he's opening up a donut shop. The conversation leads to Ted asking Wendell if he'd run a job site. We next see Wendell head to the abandoned building that he would eventually bring Eva to. Before he heads further into the building, he gets a call from his daughter and wishes her a happy birthday. We see that Wendell has a granddaughter. She shows him the elephant plush that he had given his daughter before. They end the call, and that's when Wendell notices the radiance. He reaches out and touches the yellow one. As soon as he touches it, Wendell is flooded with visions of the past and future. This issue was special because, as you might have noticed, the pages were divided into separate timelines. In the special edition of this issue, you can actually fold out the entire book into one long panel. The timelines all lead up and converge to the moment Wendell touched the radiant. I take it to mean that Wendell's past, present, and future were all instantly flashed before his eyes as a result of the power of the yellow radiant. Another 18-year time skip takes us to the future. We see an aged Wendell lying awake on the ground outside. We next see him and a new character at this campsite getting ready to venture out. It seems the apocalypse arrived and devastated the world. The two encounter a gang of sorts who recognize them. One disheveled vagrant says that they've been looking for them and says that whatever Wendell plans to do with the core is useless. Wendell and his partner then fight their way through the gang. After the skirmish, Wendell says his partner's name, Ari. There's already an Ari in the Massiverse, and it's Rogue Sun's little sister. The two look similar, and I'm sure it's the same person. The real question is, what has happened to the heroes? What happened to Rogue Sun and Radiant Black? Unfortunately, we don't find out in this issue. Anyways, the two hijack the gang's bikes and come across more enemies, this time smaller versions of the space robots from issue 7. To give Wendell the chance to escape, Ari chooses to distract the robots. She transforms in a similar way to the Radiants in Shift. Alone, Wendell races to his destination, that being the corpse of the yellow robot. He climbs up to its chest and inserts the Radiant.
Hello, Wendell. Welcome. Analyzing. Connection. Offline. Activation. Online. How?
It comes to life and Wendell yells at it to fix everything and undo the disaster that is this future. The robot says that what is final cannot be undone. Wendell yells that it couldn't have all been for nothing.
The great conflict has ended. Failure. What is final cannot be undone.
This is the end of the glimpse we see of the future. We're taken back to the point where Wendell becomes Radiant Yellow. The last page shows Wendell running out of the building and saying, "I have to fix this." The progression of time and its toll on Wendell brought a compelling character story to the Radiant Black series. The story being told through parallel panels was also a great storytelling device, and I appreciate how some events and lines matched up. There were nice setups and payoffs, such as the elephant being received negatively, but later shown to have been passed down lovingly. Wendell's ability to see into the future is an ironic power for him. He has lived a life of regrets caused by circumstances he felt he had no control over. Now being able to see every choice, he feels an overwhelming pressure to do everything he can to change anything and everything. And with all that, thank you for watching.